take it fast, I'll do it.
Good afternoon.
Perfect timing. Yeah.
I'd like to call the meeting to order. And thank you all for coming to the regular May 2017 meeting of the Pecan Plantation Owners Association. I'd like to open with a few remarks before entering in the regular agenda for today. Yes, closer to the mic. While I'm a member of the Board of Directors, and I am honored to serve this year as President, like all of you, I am a member, and perhaps more correctly, a resident of Pecan Plantation. I've remarked several times about the good fortune we have living in this wonderful community. But today, I want to comment on something else. As a resident in my third year on the board, I am reassured that the members of the board, to a person, are among the most talented and dedicated individuals with whom I have ever served. Each of these residents has brought their unique talents to the governance of our community and without exception has conducted themselves with only our best interest in mind. In over the 2 years that I have served, it's remarkable that there has never been a vote that has not been unanimous. And indeed, even more remarkable, all these votes have been in favor of the proposed action considered. This unanimity is not an indication of any exerted pressure to not oppose the collective will of the board, but rather the result of discussion and even debate at our regular Monday conference meeting. That meeting, proposals are dissected and discussed until consensus and agreement is finally reached, so that the motions put forward in our Thursday meetings are the result of that agreement. I have on occasion become uncomfortable that this continued board consensus might appear to be the reflection of an ineffectual board whose power or authority might have been turned over to management. But in fact, the opposite is true. In my experience with our system of governance, our boards have conducted their duty of oversight of our management without question. I am certain that our manager and his report would agree. Today, that record of consensus may be broken by a vote of importance on the way we implement our policies on human resources. After much discussion, it's probable that we will not get a unanimous vote, and the outcome may not be in favor of the motion. Notwithstanding the importance of the specific issue in question, the vote itself will reassure me that our directors continue to vote their convictions in the best interest of our community. On another matter, I would like to begin a discussion of the importance, influence, and financial stake that our community has in Hood County. I have found indications of such discussions by previous boards, and indeed by the Long Range Planning Committee. But for whatever reason, no proactive initiatives have resulted from those talks. My concern in no way reflects on the efforts of Butch Barton, a Pecan resident who serves as one of the elected commissioners of the county, and I am sure represents us as well as he can. But I believe that we have not received the support from the county that we should get, based on our population, but more importantly, based on the taxes we pay to the county, which I also believe represents a disproportionate segment of the county budget. Simple arithmetic suggests that Pecan residents pay as much as $15 million into that budget. I arrive at that number by multiplying the 3,000 members times an annual approximate $5,000 annual tax bill. And that does not include the taxes paid by our commercial enterprises or the commercial taxes paid by the Anthony Enterprises. As a gated community, we elect to care for our roads without county assistance. But certainly there are other areas where a simple change in procedures would expand county support into our community. I would offer just one example for your consideration and then move on to our regular agenda. As pecan has grown in population, our security has begun to suffer from the ills that affect all population centers of 5,000 to 10,000 residents. Without any intent to suggest our security force does not do its job, it simply does not have the authority to enforce laws, especially those concerning crime. It seems to me that a deputized security force under the direction of, or the authority of, the Hood County Sheriff's Department would allow us to impose immediate law enforcement in Pecan rather than waiting the sometimes 20 minutes or more that it takes to have a deputy drive in from outside the gates. Certainly this idea would require intensive and extensive discussion for it to be implemented. And it's only one way for us to receive the county services for which we pay. So, on to our regular agenda. The first item on our agenda is the open session. I have only one card, and I will call on that individual first. I suspect that there are others who wish to speak who have not filled out cards. So after our first speaker, then we'll open it to those who simply raise your hand. Please, if you wish to speak, move to the microphone, tell us your name and your address, and then we'll offer you 3 minutes. I will try to indicate when you have 1 minute remaining. So, Laura Harris, and our topic, the topic she wishes to address is the marina.
Good afternoon. My husband and I have leased a slip to Marina after 2 years since the lake came back up, and have done considerable amount of work trying to keep our area clean and safe. And that is quite a job. I don't know how many of you have been down to the marina, down to the slip areas personally, but it's worth the trip down there for you to see the condition. 3 weeks ago, I have 6 grandchildren, 8 and under. So we use the boat a lot. They live in Granbury. 3 weeks ago, my 5-year-old granddaughter was walking, made the perilous trip down the steps to get to the dock, and started from the dock down to our boat slip, and a floorboard that was up tripped her, and she fell into the slip that was right there. 2 things. Number one, we have a rule that unless you have a flight jacket on, you don't go through the gate to get in there. But the thing that really blessed her was the fact there wasn't a boat in that slip. Her father jumped in, grabbed her out. I was screaming. We created quite a scene. But the condition of the marina and the fact that, the only reason we stay down there is because it's just convenient. We live on West Wedgefield. We can get in our golf cart. We can drive less than a mile and be down there quickly. But it's kind of changed my thoughts about it's not safe. You make that walk down there, you have to watch the floorboards, but you have to watch the trees and the spiders and somebody's always doing a little dance to get the spider webs off of it. I think this could be a valuable asset right now. It's a huge liability. Because if something had happened to Brooklyn, she'd hit a boat, you'd be hearing from me in a different way. So I think all of you need to make a trip down. We're in the older set of slips. Down there and see the condition. See the condition that we're dealing with down there. Okay. And the fact that all of the debris that comes up will sit, kind of run up under your boats and then between the shore and the dock. That's not being cleaned. I don't know what the answer is, except there needs to be some money invested in it to make it safe, secure, and a quality amenity for our homeowners association.
Thank you, Laura. Does anyone on the board want to respond quickly? Or not?
Can you hear me? Okay. No. Yes? Okay. I'm Joe Hartman. I was the Marina chairman for 4 years. We've been chasing that problem for 4 years that I'm aware of. Every year the spider population just overwhelms everybody. BDOC, the flooring, they are working on replacing that as we go. That's on the budget to be done this year, I think. I'll check and verify that before I tell you for sure. Thank you very much for addressing. It's been a problem that some of us have been chirping for quite a while, but it's the people themselves down there need to help us keep it clean. We don't have my committee of last year. I hate to say it because I was one of the younger ones there, and we were all above 65. And we're trying to do a lot of things, and I've wore my guys out, to be honest with you, trying to keep the place clean. So I just need the residents to help us keep it the way we want it. You got to use the mic, sorry.
We'll allow one question, then we'll move on.
Okay. Is that not part of the people that work down there at the marina, their jobs to keep it cleaned up? And I mean, is that part of what we're paying? Their wages?
Yes and no. It's one of the deals that we are now reworking because the fact that in the past, the committee was more physically able to do physical things. Is now being kind of passed on to the staff there. They are responsible for picking up the trash barrels and keeping those empty. The committee itself did the power washing. The problem we ran into with the power washing is that if we got water on somebody's boat, they pitched a fit. And trying to get the spiders off of the ceiling is a little hard to do without having water come down on the boats. So we were caught in a catch-22 there where we were kind of limiting ourselves to the center aisles of the boat, or that C dock I'm talking about. B dock, just the main entryway, because the customers, the slip owners, were not happy when we sprayed their boat. Sorry, sometimes that happened. So we had to, we left it up to the individual. There are boats that were there 2 weeks ago that have been there for 4 years and haven't been moved.
And I wanted to address that. There's boats that have been out of registration for 10 years.
But they're still being paid. Their slip is still paid.
I can assure you, Ms. Harris, it's a priority for us. We have dedicated funds to begin a study to see how we can improve it. But I appreciate your concern, and perhaps you can speak with Joe after the meeting and get some more information.
Okay.
Thank you. Yes, Kathleen.
My name is Kathleen Robinson. I'm with 8602 Leisure Lane, up in the resident plantation, 425.
We can't hear you.
To follow up on your suggestion that the committees,
Move the mic down.
that the committees are doing the work to clean, can you give me a reason why committees are being decreased in number? If you say that people are not able to do the work because of their age on the committee, then why would you decrease the Marina Committee in half? I believe it was in half. I know other committees are being decreased in members. We continually hear, sign up, get involved. Doug Green knows I've been there every meeting. And then I have been actually eliminated from the committee that I was most interested in and my heart was in. I don't understand the reason why. I would like to hear a sound reason why you are eliminating membership involvement in committees. Thank you.
I'll address a little bit of that, Kathleen. Last year, yes, I am. Last year, all the committee chairs were asked to review their committee resolutions. And in doing so, they were asked to take a look at what the duties and responsibilities of the committee was now compared to what... I can't answer that. I can't, Kathleen, I'm trying to answer your question. You asked why was a committee size. That was the decision of the committee chair. And in some cases, it was simply because they couldn't get enough people to come to the meetings that they would have a quorum. I'm not saying this is every committee, but that was the case in some committees, why the chair requested that their numbers be decreased. In terms of your specific reasons, the board is not involved in making any decisions about committee membership. The only decision we make is approving the committee chairs, and tonight we're going to approve the committee members that the chairs have recommended to the board. That's the only action this board takes.
Thank you.
Now, the only committee I can address on that decision process that was just brought up was the fact that the Marina Committee, yes, we did reduce the size of the committee because we could never get enough people to have a quorum. We had work days where we could get up to 6, 7 people. For the meetings, we averaged less than 10. So it was among the group of us that were there for 2 different meetings that we had and worked out that the number that we have now currently was the best all-around number for approval and work. Anybody can come help the marina out physically if they want to help, but then they can come to any meeting. It's just that the attendance at the meetings with the people on the committee just wasn't enough to get anything done. And so consequently, I'm the guilty party on that originally. I thought more people, the better off we'll be. It turned out to be not a good idea.
Okay, thank you. We can't carry on that kind of dialogue, so I'd ask that you continue this after the meeting. May we have, is there anyone else that has any other issues that they'd like to raise? I would point out to you that this is the only time that the members have an opportunity to speak during this meeting. So if you have anything you wish to discuss, now's the time to do it. Otherwise, you won't have an opportunity to speak on any of the issues. Sir? State your name, please.
My name is David Blackman. I live at 9313 Monticello Drive. I've been a resident of Pecan since 2002. This place is a wonderful place. There's many opportunities here. This place could be so much more of a place. In the time that I've lived here, I've felt that the governance has left the community and been more directed by management. In this recent issue of nepotism, it struck close to me. And I would implore each and every one of you sitting here at this table to consider your vote today. It's not just about nepotism. It's about the principle. And it's about the issue that's gone on for years. Whether you knew about it or not, someone did know. The average age and length of unemployment for a GM of an HOA is 7 years. If I'm not mistaken, we're going on 14. My father's a Methodist minister. In the Methodist Church, every few years they rotate the ministers because they've done all they can do for that church. And they bring somebody new in that can take it further. We have gone no further. We're at a point now where all kinds of new amenities are being proposed and voted on and pushed hard by board members as projects that they hold dear while neglecting amenities that we already have. You can't even go down to the park with a kid and walk on that grass 3 feet without having a feet full of stickers. I was down at the parks last weekend. A lot of our amenities are falling apart. Go down to the 19th hole. It's ridiculous. We have amenities and we have a strong foundation, but those amenities are not being taken care of, and we don't need new ones. back to the nepotism.
1 minute.
It's a principle. The rule is the rule is the rule, and it's in place for a reason. I'm not saying anything about the employee that's involved. I'm talking about the rule. The controller has direct access and control over his time card, his pay, his overtime, what he does, when he does. If we've advertised, if there's 2 positions available and we've advertised them, what have we done? Can you tell us where we've advertised, how we've had to try to get people, and what's been included in that?
You want to finish up with, you're out of town.
Yes, sir. Thank you very much. If I wanted to put a shed in my backyard, I guarantee you it would not just be a metal building. I would have to follow the rules of having so much bricked. How come not everybody has to follow the rules? How come the GM's not living here as the rule states? How come we get exceptions? If I came down and asked the board for an exception for a metal building in my backyard, I can almost guarantee you what the answer would be. No, it's not in the covenants and restrictions. It's not in the bylaws.
Thank you, sir. You raised a number of issues. We are going to address the nepotism policy. Does anyone on the board want to briefly make a comment?
Yeah, I would like to make one issue. You know, you said this is a wonderful place, and I agree completely with you. I support Michael. I've seen what he does. I think he does a great job. Michael gets $90.75 to run pecan plantation from each of the members. That is just not enough money. Daniel could use 3 or 4 more people. We could have 2 more people down in Marina. You laugh, but the truth is, it's the truth. I mean, if we could take the $6 of dues increase for the Health and Wellness Center and redirect that to maintenance, that would be great. But nobody's going to give us a $6 dues increase. I mean, I'd like to think they will. We need to do our homework to show what we can do with the dues increase, and we need to substantiate why we need that dues increase. But this place could be even greater if we had more money. So we have constraints, and you know, we do quite well, even considering that we're in the 1 percentile of all homeowner associations across the nation, yet though we're probably in the 99 percentile in the services that we provide our members.
Thank you, Doug. Ms. Franson?
Yes. David, there's a couple of things. One thing that you really hits a chord with me that is something that I have been struggling with, and that is that we seem to be reactive versus proactive to reaching out and finding out what needs to be done. What we do is react when it comes from our members. And one of the goals that certainly that I would strive for the remainder of this year on the board and next year on the board as my 3rd year is that we are actively involved in proactively doing things to better this association instead of putting out fires. And right now, I feel like that's all we're doing is putting out a lot of fires. And when you spend your time putting out fires, you're not thinking very much about how to get out from under those fires and to move forward. But I sure hope that's what we can do very quickly. Because you're right about a lot of things that you said. Thank you.
And Mr. Black, I'm wondering, I don't live here, except my father lives with us, so I'm not able at this time to relocate. But when I first got this job, I did put my house on the market and did not sell it. So for the next 2 years, that's the way it's going to be.
Okay. Thank you very much, sir. Any other questions?
There's no rule that says the GM has to work.
Any other individual want to make a comment? And I'll repeat, this is the only time in the agenda that you have the opportunity to speak. Okay, let's move on. The next item on our agenda are the minutes. You've all had a chance to review the minutes and have a motion. We have a motion and a second.
I'll second.
To approve the minutes. All those in favor signify by raising your right hand. Any opposed? Minutes are approved. Okay, and next, the financials, Mr. Treasurer?
Yes, sir.
I will defer once again.
Thank you, Mr. Treasurer. Mr. President, I'm going to take a look at the financials for the month ending March 31st. First of all, we'll take a look at the revenues, go through the cost of goods sold, our expenses, our labor, and finally end up with our net income. Actually, we had a very strong revenue month. We did $560,000 in revenue on a plan of $529,000, $31,000 over our budget for the month. Year to date, we're $2.661 million, which is $20,000 less than our budget. Let's take a look on the left-hand side. That's the current month's financials. Operations assessment, we're up to 3,015 members, which is a net of 10 new members since the start of the fiscal year. Communications, our ad revenues continue to lag behind our budget both for the month and year to date. Food and beverage had a great month, $122,000 in revenue. Both catering revenues and a la carte revenues exceeded budget. Year to date, we're now $17,000 ahead of our budget in food and beverage and $14,000 ahead of last year's numbers after 5 months. Golf department was right on plan with revenues. Year to date, you can see the effects of the nice weather. $8,500 above our budget due to green fees, cart fees, and also strong merchandise sales. The marina, good to see the marina exceeded their plan by $770. It was almost predominantly due to the cooking revenue. We're seeing quite a nice increase in cooking revenue. Year to date, though, we're $15,000 behind our budget due to gasoline sales being less than expected. PPLA and CC, transfer fees, we had 17 transfer fees on a plan of 18 and had 1 renter's fee on a plan of 2. Year-to-date transfer fees, we have 76 on a plan of 78. And renters, we have only 2 renters on a plan of 6. So we're lagging a little bit behind in that department. Good to see the trend in roads and grounds. This is the first month that we've had positive exceeding our budget in roads and grounds. Road maintenance fee, we had 4 this month, plan of 2, and $9,000 worth of building permits. So hopefully that's a turnaround. You can see year to date we're $11,000 behind plan, but more importantly, $29,000 behind last year. So our new housing starts are down compared to last year. But at least March was a good month. We hope that will continue. We again had a good month, $10,000 in revenue on a plan of $6,600. So we're $3,500 ahead of plan for the month. Year to date is now $2,600 ahead of plan and $5,000 ahead of the prior year. Security exceeded their revenues by about $700, $1,700 year to date. Stables, we were lacking a couple of orders, so we were down to 18 in March. That has since been filled up, so in coming months you'll see that number get up to our budgeted number. And sports and rec has enjoyed a strong campground revenue both for this month and year to date. So revenues, as I said, exceeded our budget by $31,000 for the month rate. Revenue month and year to date was $20,000 behind. Cost of goods sold, our food and beverage, and wine, cost of goods sold, food and beverage cost about 43%. Everything else is in line. Marina is down because of the gasoline revenue. And year to date, you can see we're right on plan, $344,000 on a plan of $343,000. So we take the revenues minus the cost of goods sold minus our labor. Our labor expenses, we spent $3,254 less for the month on labor. And year to date, $15,335 less than our budget on labor. Food and beverage, we're $20,000 more sales. We spent $2,601 less than our budget. So labor expense control and food and beverage. Year to date, we're now only $4,400 behind plan on our labor budget. Golf, we're having a very difficult time finding golf maintenance workers. So we were during March 2 individuals down, $2,500 variance because we just can't fighting people, and $8,000 year-to-date. G&A right out plan, $1,700 positive variance, $8,000 positive variance year-to-date on labor. Roads and grounds, we are also at this time aligning 2 roads and grounds employees, those including since the bill, but we had to expense them overtime, both for the month and year-to-date. Again, because we are a little bit busier than expected, we spend more labor, so that's overtime, $1,700 and $3,700 year-to-date, also overtime. Security and ATC, we had some changeover, some turnover, so we had overtime. Security department, $3,100 and $9,529 year-to-date. All of our other departments are in line, so again, positive $1,300 for the month and $15,000 positive year-to-date. On our expenses for the month, first of all, we spent $13,000 less than our budget on expenses. Year-to-date, we spent $111,782 less than our budget. You can see the only negative number for each month or each year. Once each year, we get charged a distribution charge from the Anthony's as they pump water from Lake Granbury into our irrigation system. We got that a month earlier than we normally do, so that's why we had to miss the plan for the month and year-to-date. Membership services, $2,100 above for the month. And year-to-date, mainly election expenses, we had quite a large balance year and cost a little bit more to produce. The only other item out of line for either the month or year-to-date, just stables, we just had to buy some extra feed for the horses. So bottom line again on expenses, positive $13,000 for the month and $111,000 year-to-date. So if we take your revenues minus your cost of goods sold, minus your labor, minus your other expenses, you come off with the net departmental income. First of all, communications, again, due to ad revenue, we are missing the plan both for the month and year-to-date. 2000, that's a fantastic month. That's a positive $9,000 on a budget of negative $9,000. $19,000 swing in 1 month. Puts us ahead of our budget year-to-date. We've lost $24,000 on a plan to lose $38,000. And we're doing right now $6,000 better than last year, or have lost $6,000 less than last year's tax.
Michael, before you go on, that figure for the food and beverage, is that a first for us?
Not in, historically, it's the first this year that we've had a positive net income. Golf, we did have a loss in golf due to the water distribution charge from the Anthony's. Year-to-date, you can see we're $8,500 ahead of our plan. Marina had a good month. Marina made money, $2,257. So the Marina had a $5,000 positive variance to plan for the month. For the year-to-date, we're down $5,900. I already mentioned membership services. Roads and Grounds Department is hanging in there, $11,767 because of our fees I just talked about. So we had a good month in Roads and Grounds. And year-to-date, we're at $3,400 in our Roads and Grounds Department. It had a good month, $1,700 ahead of the plan, $1,900 year-to-date. Security, a miss of $2,000 for the month, $4,000 year-to-date. Small miss in disabled. All of our departments exceeded their budget or spent sports and rec, $3,700, G&A, $3,300, and facilities maintenance, $8,000. So the bottom line for the month of $48,663, that's a positive variance of $43,000, $367. And year-to-date, $95,237, that's also a positive variance of $105,465. Our forecast, we have through March for actual and forecast for the end of the year. That's what you see in the left-hand column versus our budget on the right-hand side. So this is a look ahead to our best estimate of where we're going to end the year. Roads and grounds, we think we're going to have a missile plan just because of the start that we've had and new housing starts. So in all probability, unless it really picks up, Park Place really takes off, we're going to have a missile plan in that department. PTLA and CC will have a positive $64,000. $8,686 missile plan is what we expect in the security department. You can see the effect of the ad revenue on communications forecast, negative $13,000 compared to our budget. Food and beverage, if trends continue, we'll lose $20,000 in food and beverage on the plan at $24,000. Next month, you'll see our revenues weren't quite as strong, but May's revenues were extremely strong. So we hope to keep that trend and maybe down a little bit next month. You see it well in May here, but tremendous month in May. In the end, we expect to be right on plan. Small miss of $425 and membership services a miss of $43.84. Stables, that is a self-supporting amenity, not much, $1,161. So we expect to finish $6 ahead of our budget. Sports and vet, if nothing changes, $14,338 over our budget for the year. Facilities maintenance is again, depending on what breaks down between now and the end of October, but we expect to spend $4,000 less in our budget. Pro shop, having a great year, as I mentioned, because of the weather. We're targeting out 22,000 rounds of golf, and the golf course is showing a little Texas at. In comparison, that packer is about half of that. So the winter has been a great opportunity for a lot of people to get out there and play golf. We're on pace to do about 45,000 rounds of golf. And we'll spend $615,000 on the golf course this year, most we've ever spent. Obviously, we could spend more, but that's what we can take in the budget. Then the marina, we expect to have a $3,500 missing plan. And it's all said and done, still a little early, but we expect to have $60,000 maybe to come on a plan of $2,443. The positive there is $58,363. Looking at our capital expenditure report, these are some of our in-progress projects. The telephone system and towers. We're waiting on AT&T to install a physical one so we can have voice over IP telephone system. Our telephone system is over 20 years old. And also the second part of that is our wireless communication system. Right now we're having connectivity issues between the clubhouse and the marina as the trees have grown up. So we've got permission from the BRA to mount our radio equipment at the top of their tower, which we'll be doing over the next 2 months. Westover Conversion Project, that's the engineering fee. You'll see that project coming forward next month. The dump truck, we should get delivered in the next couple of days. West Circle improvements, probably about a month before you'll start seeing some activity in West Circle. We'll back circle. The Pro Shop and 19-hole designs, they are out to bid. We have chosen 3 firms. Their concept plans are due back to us on May 6th. And then the food beverage committee will analyze it, show us designs, conceptual designs along with cost figures, and then pick a firm, and then we'll go to finance after that process and pick a design firm and do that project, if in fact numbers as we go. Our spread rig should be on property any day now. We talked about snow a couple days ago, and we ordered a new air hockey, commercial air hockey table for the pad. It's not came in for this order. Quite a laundry list of completed projects this year. A couple of critical ones. Number 9 Lake Repair. That's the irrigation lake near the back feet of number 9. We had some serious leakage. We're losing 3 to 4 feet of water each night. Now we're losing just a couple inches, so that was a critical repair. Also, the clubhouse pool leaks repairs. That was emergency capital. We found out 12 of our 13 skimmers were leaking. So that has been repaired, but we still have some major renovation work to do on the main clubhouse pool. We'll be bringing that forward after the pool season. We just did not have enough time.
to get that done. But that pool has been here since day one, and it's going to need some, quite a lot of maintenance in the future. So our capital fund as of March 31st, very healthy fund, $1,949,000. That's on March 31st, nearly $2 million. Here's our forecast, how we think our capital reserve fund will be at the end of our fiscal year. The assessment says the $8 that everybody pays every month that goes into our capital estimate reserve fund. All of our initiation fees, with the exception of our new members, so I said we have 10 active members, so that initiation fees are for new amenities or extension of existing amenities. Interest and other income, we have some CDs, we don't get much interest of it a little bit. And our marine loan receivable of $48,000. Total funding of just over $1 million in our capital asset reserve fund this year. And we'll spend right at $1,004,000, leaving the balance at the end of the fiscal year, $1.798 million. Still a very healthy capital asset reserve fund. Our road and drainage fund currently has $934,000 in it. The infrastructure committee is looking at two major projects, the Westover Drainage Project and the front entrance road from 167 to the bridge. We will bring those forward to the Finance Committee this month and then on to the board for final approval. If those projects are approved, we expect to have $294,000 in that account at the end of our fiscal year. Mr. Treasurer, Mr. President, that concludes my financial report for March 31st.
Thank you. Any comments from the board? I'd like to make one comment, especially in light of the member's comment as well. We are chasing funds continuously to try and maintain what we have and to create new amenities. I'd like to commend the Long Range Planning Committee and all the folks that have worked on that to create a systematic process that allows us to understand how much money we have, how much money that we'll have to spend, and perhaps point out, maybe in a proactive way, where we have to raise more money to maintain what we have and improve or add new amenities. So we're very much aware of the restrictions we have in terms of the revenue sources and revenue streams that we have. And I'm very comfortable that the board and management together are doing a good job in shepherding and stewarding our funds. So that's my advertisement for the process. Okay. Old business, there is none. And so next we'll go to new business. And we'll have a motion on an exception to our nepotism policy. Ms. Vance.
Thank you, Mr. President. The board has received the following request for an exemption to the policy on nepotism section 19.1.2 as outlined in section 19.1.6 of that policy. A conflicting employment relationship currently exists involving the grounds crew employee and our controller as outlined in sections 1.2 of the nepotism policy. I usually pick it up, so thank you. I was trying to see if you did. Should I start over, or are you okay? The individual in question is an excellent employee and a key member of our grounds crew reporting to our roads and grounds manager. This is a formal request for an exception to this policy as outlined in section 19.6, as his employment is in the best interest of Pecan Plantation. Mr. President, I move we approve an exception to this policy as stated in 19.16 of the nepotism policy.
We have a second, Roger. Second. I'd like to open this for discussion and ask Ms. Franzen and then Mr. Carnes, and then we'll open it to the rest of the board.
It goes without saying that this has been a very difficult last 2 or 3 weeks. And in looking at this, there's really 3 issues. The first issue is that we have a policy that may or may not serve this association at this point in time. It was created in 2000 and put in place quickly with other policies because the association had no policies to manage the association. And as times change and the PPOA changes, we're always having to look at our policies to see if they still serve the current environment. The second issue is that there's been a lack of enforcement of a policy that does exist. And both of these issues will be dealt with, and they have been made, the general manager has been made aware of this, that they will be dealt with. But today we're not talking about those 2 issues. Today we're talking about the employment issue of a gentleman that has been in an employment situation with us for several years, and through no fault of his own, he is finding himself at risk of losing his job because of a policy that we have and a policy that was not executed. I feel that being in the crossfire of this is not fair to this employee, and the issues that we're facing will be dealt with separately.
Thank you. Ross?
I spent, can you hear me? I spent about 30 years working for a Fortune 50 corporation, most of that in human resources. When I first started with that organization, we had a nepotism policy. Most corporations and organizations did. At that point, our nepotism policy was very clear. It says, if you work here, you can't have a family member work here too, period. End of statement, end of policy. That's the policy. Problem was, people who were working in the corporation got married. So we said, this is a problem, because now we've got 2 people work in the same organization, both in the same family. So we made the decision that one of them has to quit. That's our policy. We've got to get, one of you have to quit. So who do you think was asked to quit? I'll give you a hint. It starts with a W. Okay? Why? Because the men were probably there first, and that was the way a lot of rules worked in the early days of many corporations. And we came back later on and says, is this in the best interest of the corporation to get rid of talented people because they had the misfortune of getting married? or the benefit of getting married. And the policy was changed to say that, yes, we can have family members work in the same organization as long as they do not report to each other. They cannot be in the same line of chain of command, as Bob was telling me earlier. The nepotism policies that were in most corporations and most organizations said we can't have family members that are bosses over other family members or have a direct reporting relationship to that family member. In the year 2000, we established the pecan nepotism policy. I wish I had been here in 2000 because I would have told them that the policy that they're creating was really outdated, should never have been approved the way it was written, and shouldn't have been administered the way it was administered. We don't want to have favoritism. Policies generally allow employment of a family member as long as senior members of the organization do not control the activities of subordinates and there's no direct reporting relationship. Most well-written nepotism policies would read like that. So, growing up, I don't know about you, I'm going to ask a question to the board. I worked for my father. He worked in a large retail chain. I worked in the warehouse. I cleaned up trucks. I worked in the stockroom. All the jobs that other people didn't want, but I worked there. I asked, did any of you ever work for members of your family where you got a paycheck?
My kids work for me in my business, all three of them.
Now, I ask the question, did any of you work for your family members? The answer is some of you did. Are there examples of nepotism today in America? I can point. We've got a president of the United States whose daughter worked for him at Trump Tower.
Does his mom control his paycheck?
No.
Okay, just a moment, please. Let Mr. Carnes finish, and we'll address that as well.
Hillary Clinton had Chelsea Clinton work for him. We got a football team up the road called the Dallas Cowboys. Jerry Jones is the president and general manager. He's got a boy by the name of Stephen Jones, his son that works for him. This is not an uncommon thing in America. Nepotism is not illegal. It's maybe not a good business practice, but there's nothing illegal about it. We have a situation where a non-supervisor employee's child takes a job as a maintenance employee. Under the pecan plantation nepotism, this was allowed for. This was okay. The parent of the maintenance worker got promoted to a senior management level of pecan. At that point, we had a problem with the nepotism policy. Not before. At the point that the child was hired was not a violation of the nepotism policy. After the parent got promoted into senior management, it became a problem. Was it a problem with our policy? Yeah. The exception should have been handled at the point that the parent was promoted into a management position. Was it done? No. Was it a violation of the policy? Yes. So now we're faced with the decision, should we terminate the maintenance worker who's done nothing wrong? Should we terminate the senior level manager for failing to understand what the policy was and to ask for an exception that would have been granted 4 years earlier? The board is accused of collaborating with the general manager to conceal this violation of policy. We've been told we should order a forensic audit to prove the criminal intent for those egregious activities. We want to hire an attorney and do a forensic audit to accuse us of criminal intent in this cover-up of major proportions. I will vote to grant this exception and also move that we change our nepotism policy and that it clearly state what the intent of our policy should be. An employee who has a familiar relationship with another employee shall not have any direct administrative authority over the other and cannot be in that person's chain of command, i.e. supervising day-to-day activities. We have spent an awful lot of time on this. I don't like being accused of being a criminal. I don't think the other board members do either. We spend way too much time on this stuff when we've got a lot of important things that really need to get done. I thank you for the time. I will be voting no on this situation.
Wait a minute, Ross. Okay, well,
I will be voting for supporting the motion.
Okay. Ross, you also said in your comment you would move to revise the rule, and we'll take that up separately. The motion is simply for the exception.
Yes.
And I would like to clarify precisely what role the controller has in this employee's time card or any influence on salary. Can somebody clarify that?
She has none, actually. The assistant controller does all the payroll and controls all the time cards. His immediate supervisor, Mr. Chaney Van Patten, is the one that tracks his hours, turns them into Nancy Smith, and then Nancy does the payroll. Janice is not involved in payroll operation.
Okay. Any other comments from the board?
Yes, Mr. President, I have comments. Can you hear me? Listen, my issue with this is not the employee, who is a fine young man, and as I understand it, is doing a good job. All right, but I'm strongly going to oppose this measure, and I'm going to vote no. And the reason I'm going to do that is because the bylaws, the rules and regulations, the policies, the procedures that we have in place here, are part of our overall system of internal controls and safeguards, all right? And we as directors are not here on a day-to-day basis, and we rely on that system to make sure that policies are followed and adhered to. Right? That's the big issue here. It's not the employee, who we would love to keep. And if there's a way to keep them, we should do everything we can to do that. But we are being asked here by management to make an exception that is provided for in the nepotism policy 4 years after an employee has been employed here in violation of that policy and after it was brought to our attention by a member. That's a problem. And secondly, I don't believe the intent of the exception provision of the nepotism policy was for it to be applied 4 years after the fact. We have a legal opinion here that we can do this. We all got that opinion. But there's a difference between being legal and being right. So I agree that the policy needs to be changed, it needs to be revised, it may need to be completely repealed. But that's too late to argue the merits of the policy after the fact. It's a done deal. So I will vote no here, because vote me yes for this exception will send, number one, it will send the wrong message that we have a double standard for obeying the rules, one for the members and one for management. And we can't have that. We can't even have the impression of that being the case. And secondly, I think it's going to demonstrate that we don't have control over a management that we hire and are charged with overseeing. Right? That's our job, is to oversee management. All right? And the third issue here is that if we approve this thing, it will diminish the credibility of the board, in my view, and the integrity of our whole governance system in the eyes of the members. All right? So with the interest of keeping faith with the members who elected us here to oversee this stuff, and there's a lot of them here today, I urge all of you to vote no on this thing, because this is not about an employee. It's about a system of internal control that has had a breach, and we need to correct that. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Any other comments?
Mr. President, I'd just like to say that I'm going to vote for the exception. And the primary reason that I'm going to vote for the exception is I spent a considerable amount of time studying our nepotism policy, and in my opinion, it is extremely poorly written. It is full of all kinds of loopholes and inconsistencies. And I agree that the policy definitely needs to be changed, but as currently written, in my opinion, you can read anything into the policy that you want to get out of it what you want to get out of it. And for that reason, I'm going to vote for the exception.
Okay, you would please refrain from their applause. Are there any other comments? If not, then I'd call the question. Would you repeat the motion, Ms. Franz?
I move we approve an exception to the nepotism policy as stated in 19.1.6.
Okay, all those in favor, please raise your right hand and hold them up. I count 5. All those opposed, raise your right hand. 3 opposed. The motion passes and exception is granted. Thank you. We move on to item number 7, the committee management recommendations requiring board action. And as we move into this item on the agenda, I'd like to acknowledge the work that Ms. Franson has done over the past several months, and I hope I'm not missing anybody else, in Tom DeZone, who's, I don't see him here, who has worked diligently to try and make our committee development process uniform. I've gone over all of the committee resolutions and how we name chairman, how we elect committee members, and so forth. So she has worked very hard to do that, and we appreciate it. So Ms. Franson is going to move these. Is Joe? Okay. So Joe's going to make the motion. That's right. Okay.
Mr. President, I recommend that we approve the committee listings as submitted by the committee chairs for the years 2001-7 and 2001-8.
Judge Sprinkle?
Mr. President, I second.
Thank you. We have a motion and a second to approve the members of the committees as submitted. Any discussion?
Yes, Mr. President, I have a question. I'm going to vote yes for this, but with reservations, because I have received a lot of calls and messages about what some members thought was some favoritism, and without us getting involved with the chairs of the various committees, we don't want to. They should have the freedom to do what they want. But I think that we need to take a look at how we select the selective process here so that we don't have any favoritism involved in this. But I'm going to vote yes for it, but with some reservations.
And I would remind all of us that last month we approved the selection of the committees, committee chairs, and then we invited them to then name their committees.
Can I just make a further comment, Bob, on your comment? Because I think in the past that has been a problem, and so that was one of the things that Mr. Brazzone and I put into the new committee selection process, is that there are guidelines for committee chairs. We did an orientation for committee chairs so that they would understand what the guidelines were. We put together a questionnaire that they had the option of giving to the people that signed up to be on their committee, so they could really see the qualifications of the committee members, the people that signed up to be committee members, and to see who would be the most qualified to be on that committee. I know I'm head of long-range planning, and I had 9 people. I only had 4 slots. So Roger Eads and I, who's the vice chair, we spent all day talking to these individuals at 30-minute increments, because it's very important. It's a very important role that the committee chair has to make sure that they give fair, each person that's interested, you give them fair treatment, and you talk to them and you hear what they have to say. So was it followed 100%? I can't guarantee that. But I can tell you and tell the members there is a process put in place to try to work this system better.
Thank you. Any other comments? I know that I'm sorry. I know that in the 2 committees that I'm most intimately involved, there was an attempt to identify the qualifications of the members and then make those choices. So I commend the work of the committee chairs, and again, I acknowledge that our community is dependent on the volunteers who serve on these committees. And so this is a very, very important process that we go through. Any other comments?
Yeah, I'd like to make it. 2 years ago, actually 3 years ago, I volunteered for the Long Range Planning Committee and wasn't able to be on that committee. I was disappointed. I wound up volunteering for Grounds Committee and worked with them, and a year later I ran for the board, and now I'm on the Long Range Planning Committee. It was, but I would like us to kind of revisit and scrutinize exactly how many people should be on committees and make an attempt to make more seats available. Having said that, those people who would like to attend committee meetings, I think it's great. I think your input, sitting in the back of the room, and, you know, when I showed up at Long Range Planning Committee and jumped right in there, and Dan Christ was nice, let me speak, listened to what I had to say, took the data on board, you know, so you can still make valid inputs. As a attendee to the meeting, if you're not a member of the committee, you're not allowed to vote. But you can still make valuable inputs, and I would just strongly encourage our members to take advantage, to show up at committee members, at committee meetings, and make an input, make an impact, and maybe even run for the board.
Yes, please run for the board. And so, Doug, if you want us to do that, maybe you can come back to the board in our conference meeting, and we can discuss that further.
I will.
All right. Any other comments? We have a motion.
I'd just like to make a comment. I think that we can never be perfect. We can try our best. I mean, that's what human beings' definition is trying to improve their habitat and improve the way that they live. That said, I think, you know, I'd ask the committee chairs that if you have members that have signed up to be on your committee and you have meetings and they don't come, then you need to take action with those members who aren't attending. Because we've selected committee members because they told us that they wanted to be actively involved in what the committees are doing. If those members aren't showing up, then we need to get them off the committee and get people on the committee that will show up for meetings. One of the changes that we made this year with the committee chairs, we replaced some committee chairs because the committee chairs we had were not coming to the board workshops to submit their comments as to what have been happening in their meetings. If we can't have committee chairs showing up to tell us what's going on in the committees, then we're missing out important information for us to be able to do our jobs. I think the same challenge I'd put out to the committee chairs is if you have 10 people in your committee and 6 of them are showing up all the time and 4 aren't, then we need to get those 4 off the committee and get 4 people on the committee that will come to the meetings. Thank you.
I would point out that there were some changes, Mr. Collins, in the number of committee members. And the other thing I'd like to say is that, gosh, we don't want to ever turn away a volunteer. And so we have to make an opportunity available for people who do want to volunteer. We appreciate your wanting to work, and we'll do everything we can to keep you involved. That said, any other comments? We have a motion on the floor, so I'm going to call for a vote. All those in favor of the motion to approve the committee members, raise your right hand. Any opposed? Motion passes. Thank you. Before we get to the management report, well, I was going to acknowledge the presence of... Wait a minute. We're not done? I thought we got them done. Okay.
7B.
I thought we were going to do all of them. We didn't do all of them? Oh, yeah, you're right. Slap my face. Well, and I was going to acknowledge the presence of the Sheriff's Department who came and attended our meeting, and appreciate their being here, Todd. Thank you for helping. Here's Sheriff right now. Okay, so now, you're right, item 7B, and so we have another motion.
All right. All the following, and I'll be doing each one of these individually because it goes into the public record, are for changes to committee resolutions. The first one is DCR CR 17-03-001. This is to change the wording in the Entertainment Committee. Current duties and responsibilities include to maintain a break-even objective. It was recommended that the break-even be removed.
We have a motion. We have a second. Well, that's where I got confused. So let's do them all.
The next one is CR 17-03-002. This is for a change to ACC to add two members. One is a developer representative, a voting member, and the PPOA compliance officer as a non-voting member. Next one is CR-17-03-003. This is for the Finance Committee. This is to add the camp review process duty to their list of duties and responsibilities. The next one is CR-17-003-004. This is a change for the Grounds Committee resolution. It's to change the membership from 11 members to 9 members. CR-17-03-005, the Horse Owners Committee. It's to reduce the membership from 5 to 8 to 5 to 7. 5 to 8 members to 5 to 7 members. The next one is the House is a CR-17-03-006. This is a change to the House Food and Beverage Committee. The first change is that this committee is a reporting relationship now to the GM. The second change is changing the number of members from 12 voting members to 9 voting members. And the third is adding an additional duty and responsibility involving current and future facilities modification, facilities expansion, and needs. Next is CR-17-03-007. This is for the Long Range Planning Committee. It's reducing the members from 12 to 10, reducing the number of board members to 3, and reducing the number of non-board members from 6 to 4. There was also change to the duties and responsibilities of that committee. The next one is CR-17-03-008. This is for the Marina Committee, changing the number of voting members from 15 to 7 and adding an additional duty and responsibility to the committee. CR 17-03-009 is the Membership Orientation Committee. This is changing the number of members from it has currently up to 8 to 14 voting members, and then updating the duties and responsibilities to be consistent with current duties and responsibilities and making them consistent with state law. The next one is CR-17-03-010, the Wildlife Committee, and this is reducing the members from 15 to 14. This really wasn't a reduction. This was an incorrect, showing an incorrect number on the existing committee resolution, so I just corrected it to be reflective of what they have, which is 14 members.
Okay. I think that's it. I'd like to make a comment that, again, if if you're not on a committee, it doesn't, at least committee meetings are open, they're publicized, and we invite anyone with an interest in that process to attend these committees, and then hopefully you can become a member of the committee subsequently. I'd also like to point out that board members serve as representatives for each of these committees. We attend when we can, and I'd like to commend Mr. Cote in particular for his attendance at many of those committee meetings, especially the new member orientation meeting. I don't know, Bob, that you've missed one, but we appreciate that. You come to those meetings and you represent the board and welcome all the new members who are moving into pecan. So thank you. All right, so I know we have, this is part of an extensive motion. And Beverly, now that you've caught your breath, anything else you want to say about it?
No, sir.
Okay. Any other comments?
We need a second.
Do we have, I thought we had a second. I'm sorry. Yeah, Ross, that was you.
Yeah, I'll second the motion to approve the request for changing the committee resolutions as listed by Beverly.
Okay. Any comments?
Yeah, I'd like to make a comment. I agree with the general intent of what we're doing here. Some of the committees were like Marina, 15 dropping it down to 7. It was almost impossible to get a quorum. You'd have to have, 8 members show up to vote on anything. And there's a lot of things we need to get done in the Marina that's important that those committees be able to function. I fear, though, that we may have cut too deep, too fast. We made the exception to put 2 more people on the long-range planning, and I think that was a smart idea. Now we're taking it right back. So, and we really, I don't think we had enough discussion in this process to determine, how far we wanted to cut. So, I will, contrary to what we normally do, I will probably vote against this.
I'd like to point out the board is not involved in committee chairs and committees making the decisions of the committees. We get their recommendations, and that's what we're voting on. There may be maybe that's a role of the board rep, is to work with the committee chairs when they're going through this process to see if we can't make some clarifications for the right number of members that serve their committee. But our role is not to dictate to them how many members they're going to have.
And for those in the audience who are not aware, the board workshops occur on a Wednesday prior to these meetings to give the committees an opportunity to make their reports to the board of directors. And so that's a valuable meeting that we would encourage you to attend as well. Are there any other comments? We have a motion and a second. I'll call for a vote. All those in favor, raise your right hand. Any opposed? Motion carries. The vote is 7-1. Okay, our management report. Mr. Bartholomew.
Thank you, Mr. President. Once again, we have our karaoke night at the club coming up this Saturday, May the 6th, featuring our very own DJ Keith Castellan in the Brazos Room starting at 8 p.m. Always a big event at the club is our Mother's Day buffet, Sunday, May the 14th, beginning at 11 a.m. Reservations are required. Chef Thomas and the staff are going to prepare an array of food that's sure to please everybody, so please honor Mom and come up for our Mother's Day buffet. Our 5th annual Unique Car Show takes place on Saturday, May the 20th, from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. Bring the family out and see vintage cars, fully restored cars, and even some newer models. The food and beverage department will be serving pulled pork sandwiches, hot dogs, drinks, and snacks from 11 until 1 p.m. Also on May 20th, the annual Pecan Plantation Volunteer Fire Department EMS benefit golf tournament, Saturday, May 20th, 1 p.m. shotgun start. Please call the pro shop to sign up, and this is a very important fundraiser for the fire department and the EMS. The PAC has an action-packed schedule of all sorts of camps, classes, and activities. So if you have grandkids coming in town over the summer or children, look at page 34 and 35 of this month's edition of the column. We're going to welcome back the Missoula Children's Theater again this year for the production of Alice in Wonderland from July 24th to July 29th. On July 24th will be auditions. We have about 60 kids from ages first grade all the way up to 12th grade. They will audition throughout the week and put on 2 performances on Saturday the 29th at 2 and 4 p.m. And finally, the summer kicks off with a Memorial Day street dance, Sunday, May the 28th from 5:30 to 10 p.m. We have bands featuring the Zach Stokes Band and also Clay Shelburne. And in addition, the pool will be open, the bounce houses will be outside, and we'll have a array of food and entertainment for everybody to kick off the summer. So we hope you have a great summer. Mr. President, I'd like to introduce my manager.
Mr. President, can I just add, Michael, there's been a lot of comment about the equipment at the playground equipment. Can you comment on what we're doing to repair that?
Yes, we, the individual who installed the playground equipment came out yesterday and looked over the equipment. There may be an opportunity for some warranty opportunities on the slide. If we can't, if it's not under warranty, we will replace the slide. And then the Sports and Rec Committee is working on a master plan for the PAC park and looking at especially what equipment is appropriate for each age group, making sure we have enough equipment for each age group, and also improve the surfaces on beneath the equipment. So in the near future, you'll be seeing a proposal coming forward for improvement of the park system, especially the playground equipment.
I'd like to make one editorial comment for everybody that's here. Age-appropriate equipment. Is that equipment designed for 17 to 25-year-olds? I've been down there. I've seen kids that clearly shouldn't have been on any of that equipment, including adults, and even a couple of grandparents that probably shouldn't have been on the swings. And I just say, that equipment is designed for kids, and it's not designed for teenagers and adults. And if you see people down there that shouldn't be on that equipment, ask them to get off or call Ty and ask him to move them. But having 250-pound 15-year-olds on that merry-go-round probably isn't what it's designed for.
God, I thought you were getting ready to talk about me for a minute. I have 2 things I want to mention. First of all, Michael, we are having the volunteer luncheon. I don't know if you mentioned that.
Yes, next Thursday, May 11th at 11:30. We served on a committee for any volunteer capacity last year. Please contact Mary. The chefs prepared a very nice lunch, and we have a recognition gift at the end of the lunch. It's our opportunity to thank all of our great volunteers for their service during the past year. We hope you can come.
Another issue was raised, and I think we talked about this last month, but I'd like to bring it up again. And Daniel, you're here. I wonder if you can tell us what measures that we have taken to take care of the sticker problem at the parks. There was a comment that we had a problem there. Could you tell us what you've been doing? I know you've been working at it.
Okay, well, stickers at the parks. They've been an issue since I've been here. About 3.5 years ago, we went through there and actually physically plucked them all out. Out of the 3 parks, we ended up with 80 plus 55-gallon bags of stickers. The biggest issue with stickers is there's not a lot of herbicides that can control them that don't require irrigation. We have found one particular herbicide that seems to be doing well. The sticker population is way down from years past, and we will continue to treat it. And it is definitely high on the list.
And did you not do some burning?
Yes, we did burn off all the parks again this year. We burned them off as well 2 years ago. The sticker population in the parks is significantly decreased over the last several years. There are still stickers present, though, but it is far less than they were in the past. They do. In times of drought, the stickers really take off as well. So.
Mr. President, I'd like to ask a question, if I could, to Daniel. Daniel, you know, 38 years ago when I first came out here, those not playgrounds, but those beaches, parks, were the center of attraction to this place. You know, and for some reason, I don't recall all those stickers being there. Is there a way we could get irrigation into that thing? And if we could, would it be too costly? Or, you know, that is really, we should really make that, those not playgrounds, campgrounds, or what do we call them?
They're the beaches.
The beaches, yeah.
And they're basically playgrounds. But,
yeah, but they could be beautiful, you know, and a real, you know, a center attraction to this place. I just wondered if there's more we could do to make them look better, to make them look nice. They used to look beautiful years ago.
A lot of the stickers come from just being moved around.
Right.
You know, I'm sure a lot of kids have gone down there and picked up stickers and tracked them home.
Yeah, sure.
And people have had to deal with stickers there. And
but irrigation, is it possible to have irrigation?
Irrigation is possible, but it would be a large expense for some parks that we really don't know the status of it at this point.
All right, thanks. I just wanted to put my 2 cents.
That would be something maybe we could ask our grounds committee to take a look at.
Because believe me, you know, and my wife was here today. She used to bring our kids out here. It was beautiful. I mean, those playgrounds were beautiful, and they just, you know, they've gone by the wayside. We need to do something about that. Anyway,
we still have a lot of folks that go down there and enjoy the parks and the playgrounds with very minimal complaints, and I have had a lot of compliments on the condition of the parks as of late as well.
I didn't mean this as a slight to you, Daniel, because we know you do one heck of a good job here, and we appreciate what you do for the company. Thank you.
Okay, there are no presentations or appeals. Before I ask for a motion to adjourn, I'd like to acknowledge those of you who have come. I know many of you came because of a controversial issue on the agenda. I'll take advantage of my bully pulpit to say that while there were comments that suggested that there was some kind of misbehavior cast on the board, I can tell you that is simply not true, and that the board has, in my experience, operated with integrity and honor as we attempt to represent your wishes. And we will continue to do that as long as I'm involved on the board. And I would say that every one of the members of this board would do that as well. So I thank you for your attendance. I thank you for the way you have comported yourself. And with that said, motion to adjourn. All those in favor? Or adjourn.